Hey there, everyone. My name is Alex. I've been playing Magic the Gathering for the past 25-ish years. I started out playing with my best friend, sitting in his bedroom building decks out of a huge box of cards that he had. And I went on to play on a local tournament level, though never quite competitive, with anyone else. Back during the original Ravnica block, I since learned that Commander is my favorite format. I absolutely love playing Commander because it brings out a more casual and fun audience, as well because I enjoy playing two themes that I think are relatively unique, that being group hug and politics. I say all of that to let you know sort of how I'm going to be looking at cards and so on, but specifically today, I actually want to talk about how the heck do we even win using politics or group hug as it is, because there's like a handful of options for how you actually try and win and beat people. You see, I like to put my opponents in their strongest position, make sure that they have the best options available to them. And so, how do you even actually, after putting your opponent in the best position possible, how do you actually use that to your advantage? How do you win from that point? Now, obviously, part of the answer is going to be to make sure that your opponents are most focused on fighting one another, kind of trying to take one another down around you, giving them bonuses for doing so, even giving them unique benefits, or using special cards to encourage them to do so. We've talked about a few of those being cards like Edric, Jolene, Belby, and so on. But what actually happens when a politics or group hug player goes to war? Now, for some players, it's going to be cards such as Hamlet Back Goliath or Mana Gorger that make it so that when your opponents play spells or creatures, they get, bigger and bigger and bigger. But my option is a little more, um, I feel appropriate for the situation at hand because you see, I absolutely love to use clone effects. Clones are some of my favorite creatures in the game, though you might notice this one's on the wrong side of the screen because I also today want to talk about a particular card. So I want to talk about Bramble Sovereign. So, what does a politics group hug player do when they want to go to war with their opponent? Well, what they're going to do is they're going to make sure that their opponent are playing their strongest pieces or their best pieces, and you're going to go, oh, I'll do that too. I'll take some of that as well. Bramble Sovereign is a dryad for 2 green and 2. They're a 4/4 creature. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 green and 1. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. Now, for Bramble Sovereign, perhaps most creatures, it doesn't seem like it's going to be generating it on your side of the field. However, if you do play your clones and your clever imposters and so on, Bramble Sovereign can copy those. Um, I believe, yeah, it has to come into play as a creature before Bramble Sovereign can copy it. So if I am trying to cast Clever Imposter as a artifact, Bramble Sovereign can't copy it. There are creatures that can do that. I believe Riku of the Broken Mirror, whatever it is, Riku of two Reflections, can copy creature spells, but Bramble Sovereign cannot. Bramble Sovereign does give you a fairly unique benefit, however, because it allows you to copy creatures at your leisure. So, if your opponent plays a universal or symmetrical effect that's particularly valuable or strong, Bramble Sovereign allows you to pay 1 green and 1 to copy that. So, if your opponent somehow ends up with their own Magus of the Vineyard, you can copy with Bramble Sovereign, end up with more mana. If your opponents have universal anthem effects, then you can copy that. If your opponent plays a creature where the most benefit is given to them by only having one of that creature, well, you can copy Bramble Sovereign and do that to make sure that there are more copies. However, this can target your own creatures, which is where we're going to try to see the most benefit. If we clone someone's toxic creatures, for instance, it's something I had happen recently in a game. Um, Somebody was using a heavy toxic and proliferate focused deck. I used a clone to try to copy that. If I had Bramble Sovereign on the field, I could then also go and copy a copy of the clone. And it would come in as that creature. This is how I choose to try and quote win at games. Again, it's about feeling clever, about feeling like I've worked out a puzzle. I found a unique moment in the game that allows me to, it feels like that like moment in House or in a Sherlock Holmes story where they go Eureka and they finally figured it out. They've solved everything. It's definitely not lupus. I've taken control of a proliferate and a toxic creature. I've hit the toxic player with the toxic creature, and I now proliferate everybody else out, while also using my own creatures or my own tokens and generating more and more of them than my opponents are. Because of the sheer number of clones I run in my deck, which you can see down in the description. I have this like massive advantage. I run technically multiple copies of the same creature, with it being multiple different bodies that just clone the same creature as long as it's on the field or in the graveyard, wherever that particular clone copies from. Bramble Sovereign just sort of puts the icing on the cake. He's a win more card more than anything. He's also a political option. Let's say you want to try to get an opponent on side. They play out a big boomy creature and it doesn't quite hurt your side of the field. Bramble Sovereign is great for that, because you go, hey, if you don't attack me for whatever amount of time, if you do this for me, if you take out that player, I'll just give you a second one of your creature. And I mean, it can be really effective to have Bramble Sovereign as a negotiation piece. And you can do the same for cards like Clever Imposter, although you keep control of those. Having the option to be like, okay, you want this happening on the field, well, I'll throw out another one, and as long as you do whatever, you Clever Imposter somebody's proliferation engine thing that proliferates twice, and you proliferate all of your enemies, and they're proliferating everybody, and it's just you two in an arms race against one another as everybody else dies in poisonous agony. Absolutely amazing stuff. I think clones are a really fun and interesting way to try to win the game. It stops being about, okay, what's in my deck that can help me win, which is a thing you'll see a lot with Kenrith tech, where they're like, okay, I'm just going to swing out with Kenrith. Or even with my own commander, Corona, you'll see quite often Corona is a Voltron leader. So she'll like put a bunch of auras on herself and start swinging through to your opponents, and then hope your opponents do the same thing with her. But for me, it's all about trying to be super clever and like play all these unique tricks and so on. So hopefully that has been interesting. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. If you are interested in sort of more seeing what's going on in the mind of a player who likes EDH, who likes politics, and who likes group hug style, hopefully something I have to say interests you. But that's going to be it.